What's up, world? It's your boy, the Bearded Brother. What's up, world? It's your boy, the Bearded Brother, back at it again with another episode of Season 3 of the Bearded Tastings. Like I've told you before, I'm brewing up the good episodes, the great guests, and even greater conversation with the best beverage on the planet, beer. So, enough about that. I'm sitting across from a very amazing woman that I met at Corner to Corner. She was second runner-up at the pitch competition. She had a couple bars in her pitch. I'm not going to lie. I got to go back and take some notes. But enough about that. I'm sitting with Taylor of Tayloredforus. How are you today?
I am doing well. How are you?
I can't complain. You know, I get to sit across, drink beer, and hear a great story about how statements really make statements. Yeah. And so you started 7 years in the classroom, teaching our young minds academia, but also social things that are very important. And then you turn around and start putting it on shirts.
Yep.
So how do you go from in the classroom to t-shirts and sweatshirts and all that?
Yeah, so I was in the classroom. I was teaching 6th grade English for like 7 years. And the pandemic hit, and being a teacher was no longer the profession I had gotten into. It had changed a lot, having to kind of navigate home in a different way that I wasn't used to, having to kind of create curriculum in a way that was a bit more hands-off, which also I wasn't used to.
Gotcha.
And then there was like a rush to kind of move back to normalcy in education, which at that point, just safety-wise, I was not particularly ready to do. So I was like, I'm just gonna take a pause. I'm going to step out of the classroom and just try something new, because this is not working for me in this kind of world we're currently in.
Yeah. Really actually works for anybody in this world. Really.
So that was, I believe, in November of 2021. And I played around with the idea of doing shirts for like quite a while. Because I love fashion, I love clothes, I love a good graphic tee. Like, I'm really into those things. So I was like, well, let me just buy a heat press and see. I got nothing but time on my hands at this point, so let me just pick up a new skill.
Why not?
So I bought like some blanks that I kind of liked that matched my aesthetic, and I had been working on phrases, just kind of being in the educational space, which is really majority operated. It was hard to fully be myself and be authentic and show up and kind of be prideful without being offensive, I suppose, right? Exactly. So I was like, I'm tired of that. Who do I have to be, hold up this facade for?
Right.
So I was like, let me make these phrases as bold as I can. Like, I really want to send a message. So I kind of brainstormed some phrases, and I put them on shirts and I sent them to my friends. And they was like, oh, this is kind of cool. You should, pursue this maybe as the real thing. So I was like, I don't have literally anything to lose. I'm not really working full time. I am on this kind of hiatus. So I launched in January, and people were really, really supportive. Like, awesome. Massively supportive beyond what I could have imagined.
Because basically all your phrases are saying what everyone's thinking, but like they can't say it. Like right before I came here, I saw a shirt that I'm gonna get very soon. It's like, it's okay. It's something I'm gonna butcher the phrase, but it's like about black men being vulnerable.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's like, I feel like that's kind of like a trend that's been rumbling, especially during like the pandemic. Like, it's been kind of coming out with like mental health issues for everybody.
Absolutely.
talking about with Big Sean, his mental health issues, and really just anyone else that's kind of going through that, and it's okay to have that vulnerability.
Absolutely.
It doesn't change your level of masculinity. If anything, it amplifies it now. So
100%.
And so I love those phrases, and so like it's definitely something I can get behind. But coming up with this shirt, what have been some of the eases / victories you've had, and also what are some of the difficulties and losses that you've had creating a shirt? Whether it's like, oh, this is a dope saying, and everybody's like, I ain't fucking with that. No, don't do that to me.
I think some of the wins were like seriously the support. Like I dropped January 2021. I can't think of the exact day, but like within 2 hours of opening the website, I had maybe 50 orders. And it got to a point where I was like, I'm doing this all myself. I need to...
Can I make this?
Yeah, I was like, I need to just close the website down because I'm not going to be able to do that.
Right.
But I just like the support I have gotten doing this has been like beyond what I could have imagined. Like this is just how I feel working in these majority spaces, and it turns out other people feel very similarly.
Right.
So that has definitely been a major win. I also think the reach that it has had, like, of course I'm originally from Chicago, so like I got a lot of orders from Chicago. I live in Tennessee. I got a lot of orders in Tennessee, but like I was literally shipping all over the country, and I was just like, how do you even know this exists? You know, so it was.
Let alone,
yeah, I'm just like, this is crazy to me. You know, like literally, I've at this point almost shipped to all 50 states, and I'm just like,
oh man, that's
how?
awesome.
You know, like how?
Right.
It's just mind blowing to me.
Just know that you are. Sometimes there's just questions that don't need answers.
100%.
Like,
I'm just like,
it's happening.
Exactly. I am thankful for sure.
Oh yeah. And not to cut you off, but
yeah.
I'll be remiss not to have taken a sip of beer. That's a personal record for me. It's been about 5 minutes talking to someone about taking a sip of beer. And this first one, we're gonna start at the end here.
Okay.
This battle. This is called a flight. So if you go to a brewery, you're not really sure what you want, and there's a bunch of beer that seem interesting, you can get tasters, little 4-ounce tasters usually, range between 4 to 6 beers you can select, depending on the brewery you're at. But we're here at Jackalope, so we are doing 4, and this first one is one of their seasonals. It's called Lovebird. It's a wheat beer, so it's going to be a little bready, but not like you're actually like drinking like nature's own bread.
I was like,
don't
bready,
worry about
okay.
that. No. It's going
that's
to have
an
the
interesting
essence
description.
of it, but
Okay.
it's going to have raspberries and strawberries in it. So
I
it's
like
gonna be a
that.
little
I
sweet,
like that.
easy to drink.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite beers to introduce to people that don't drink beer or don't drink enough beer to know this is out here. But this is definitely just something to bring into right here. For everybody. And
I'm excited.
Cheers.
Cheers, of course. I'm so thirsty.
Good.
Look at that.
All right. So it's like super easy to drink.
Okay.
It's almost like a strawberry raspberry lemonade almost.
I was like, that's not bad.
And so that's like the wonderful thing. I love when I have guests on here, they don't drink beer. They get like so shy and weird about it. They're like, I don't drink beer. I'm like, you're the person I need on here because now I can turn you into a fan live on an episode. And
I was like, I don't drink beer, and this is pretty all right. I would drink it again.
So now when beer becomes your new obsession, you just like, oh, the beer brother got me in this game.
Right.
Go holler at him. He'll get
you
the beer you want.
Exactly.
So, kind of going back to those statements and on your shirt, because they're bold statements. So
they are.
It's just like, it's not for the
everyone.
Part.
It's not for everyone.
Exactly. But when someone purchases a shirt, what are some things you hope they know and wish they knew about putting on your shirt, whether it comes to like living that statement, like what are some things you're like, you put my shirt on, this is what I need to see from you? Or is there anything like that for you in your mind?
I think 100% is like a confidence. Like if you're gonna wear this, I want you to confidently wear it. I don't want you to feel ashamed. I don't want you to feel like you cannot go to certain places because people are gonna look at you or, you know, even question you or come up to you. Like I just really want you to exude confidence, because I feel like in so many spaces we're forced to be quiet and kind of silence ourselves in a lot of ways what is most authentic and true to us.
Right.
And I think like that was my real goal in creating the apparel. Is like I wanted to breed confidence, and when people put this on, I want them to exude confidence, so much so people are like, man, I want to be a part of what's going on here. So
It's like, I need that shit. That
Yeah.
gives that person extra sense of power and belonging.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really cool, and just being able to like have something that says what you mean, even if you're not real articulate. That's me. I was like, I see it and I understand it, but when I have to put words to it, sometimes it's just a struggle for me, because whether it's my personal lack of confidence, or it's just a deeper, more layered piece of conversation that I'm not familiar with. But so like definitely having those shirts really definitely work with that. But for those phrases and things like that, I know when you're in the classroom, you implemented ideas of like social justice amongst your students. How are the shirts doing that beyond just like saying it on there? Like, how are you as an owner really making sure these shirts live up to your expectations beyond just keep pressing it and folding it up and sending it out?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like having conversations like this is how I think the shirts live. Like I hope that they are conversation starters, and that maybe there are people who disagree, or maybe people who might take offense to some of the messages that are on the shirts, and that opens up dialogue, because I think a lot of the tension experienced, not just racially, I think just across lines of difference, is lack of communication and understanding. Right. So I think just being able to have those conversations with people of all different races, ethnicities, genders, so on and so forth, is one way that I'm really trying to kind of live the message out loud. Is like, I could be proud of who I am and not anti-you.
Right.
And that's one way.
Right there. Proud of who I am and not be anti-you.
Yeah.
That's my next Instagram caption right there.
So I think that's one way, like, I'm really attempting to kind of live out loud a lot of the messages that are kind of on the shirt. And then even, like, I still work with youth, and just being very upfront about the beliefs that I have, and, like, kind of instilling that confidence that I hope the shirts bring to kids, because I feel like as a kid I didn't necessarily have as much confidence, right? I was a black girl. I did gymnastics. That's at one point was one of the whitest sports that there is, right? There wasn't a lot of people that looked like me, so I felt shame sometimes. So my hope is just that being able to still work with youth and have the shirts, it's allowing them to build their confidence, allowing them to build the power, allowing them to know that who they are is not a crime, is not a sin, it's a beautiful, powerful thing, and how we use that will like really transform the world, I believe. So yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like being able to transform thought process, instilling confidence and things like that. So, but speaking of just like transitioning and things like that, we're going to transition to this next beer, which is called Salty Seagull. It's a strawberry lemonade inspired beer, which is made off the same profile as Lovebird, but instead of raspberry, it's more lemon in there. The second one right here. So it's going to be definitely perfect now that the sun's out. It's warming up a little bit. This is definitely a perfect like cookout. Spending a day over at your friend's house outside. Super refreshing, easy to drink. So that's what I love about Jackalope as well. They got really drinkable beers that people can enjoy every time of year. So this is another one of their seasonals. They only come out around the spring and summertime. And then I guess they fly south for the winter. Because it is.
Because I was like, it ain't here. Okay.
And so.
I'm trying to see which one I'm leaning more toward. And I think I really feel the lemon. I think
right.
I don't know, it's something about it that is like pulling me in.
Oh yeah, it's definitely like, it's the refreshing, the fresh like taste of it. It tastes like just freshly made.
It does.
Almost fresh squeezed.
It does.
Good fresh squeezed lemonade, strawberry lemonade. Right? Your grandma used to make back in the day when you were growing up.
I was like, and I'm telling y'all, I don't actively drink beer at all, and I'm
yeah, she's mentioned that before.
Yeah, I was like, I am, you know,
yes,
I'm not upset. I'm not upset. Yes.
Yeah, you hear that, people? There's a beer for everybody. All right, just let me help you find it. But I want to just kind of talk about creating a space, because that has been the premise of Tailored for Us, and how is Tailored for Us creating that space here in Nashville? Are there speaking engagements you partake in? I know you spoke on working with the youth and things like that. How important is it to have our own space? Should it be in the spaces? Should we create our own space or create a space within the space? Which one have you seen that had more success to you? It's a loaded question.
I was like, yeah.
We got time. We're with beer, so the thoughts are going to flow, so it's going to be perfect.
I think I'm still figuring out what it means to create space in Nashville. I think that was like, I did corner to corner so that I could begin like kind of building a community. I feel like in Tennessee, a lot of my community comes from Memphis. I lived in Memphis for 3 years.
Okay.
And I have a friend who I once taught with. She owns like a plant nursery in Memphis, and she allowed me the opportunity to sell my items there kind of once I got off the ground. Wow. So I think like Memphis has been like my biggest source of community. Like if I do a pop-up, like they show up. If I am doing, any sort of like selling of merch, like people know my brand there, which is, again, it's just like,
it's
what?
wild. It's wild.
That's insane to me.
It's mind blowing. I had that kind of moment the other day. I was working in the back, and somebody called my name out. Never met the person, but they followed me on Instagram. So he was like, "You gonna be the brother?" I was like, yeah.
It's a great, it's like
you forget that you have
thing.
that persona, and you're like, "Wait, man, what we try?" You kind of like get ready to square up. Is this the day?
What is this?
Is
right?
this the day?
Why are you asking?
He's like, I'm such and such. I was like, we interact so much on social media. Like, I just talked to you like earlier today. Okay, I can calm down. And it's just like that reads.
Because it is kind of like, what's going on here? Yeah.
How you know? I know who I am. Oh yeah, I have a whole little like online persona. Duh.
Yeah, so that has been interesting. It is a goal of mine to establish more of a community here in Nashville, and I think like Corner to Corner showed me that 100% there's a market for what I'm doing.
For sure.
And people are on board with it as well. So I think that was like definitely a motivator. And I just want to be super intentional as I make new merch to like exclusively maybe launch it here in Nashville, because I really do want to do a better job of building community here. And to the second part of your question, I think both and, right? I do think it's important that we have spaces that are solely for us so we can show up. So we can communicate in a way that feels free.
Right.
It's not scripted. It's not having to be censored. It's just, it is what it is.
Hokey performance.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's important. And, to the point I was making earlier, like, communicating across lines of difference is also super important. So I think like finding the balance between like, yes, sometimes I feel safer in this space, and it is beneficial for all of us to at some point be able to come together to have conversations, regardless the tension that it might create or the awkwardness. It is.
Sometimes you need that.
Yeah, I was like, that's how you grow, right? When you're uncomfortable, that is how you grow, and I think that is super important.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Trying to find that perfect balance, because I think that's what we're all trying to do in our spaces, whether it's being a catalyst for social change with clothing and things, or trying to bridge a community with another community that's not necessarily. It is marketed to, but make sure it's genuine and correctly done. Because like that's the issue with craft beer is you talk about community, but you don't know how to reach out to certain communities. You reach out in one track mind, you're like, oh, black people, they like rap. We'll just make a rap
Do this,
lyric and put it on the can,
and then
they'll come running.
Right, and I'm like,
and then set it down, or like put it down on a classic album cover. No, it's like blacks will come, just put it out there, and hide behind the bushes, see what happens. No. We can sense that from a mile away.
100%.
And it's just like, do the simple things. It's just
100%.
hiring. Whether it's hiring someone that looks like me. Like, I work at Bearded Iris, and they hired me not because they want to reach their diversity quota or anything like that. They want to help me learn and grow within this space and be successful, rather than be like, hey, we hired him, now will you come? It's like,
right.
no.
Now
it's
we've made it.
It's like, no. They're constantly
exactly.
doing the work and are willing to do the work, and being able to create that space is good, but also there needs a space for just black beer drinkers, just be black and drink beer in peace. And
yeah. Because it's all, I feel like the merging spaces, there's always an educational component that comes with it, and sometimes that's taxing, right?
Yeah.
It's just like I don't want to have to explain everything to you. If we're going to be in community, it's some things you're going to need to do on your own, so we're mutually getting something out of this partnership versus like I'm doing all the giving and you're doing all the taking.
Right.
So I think like the balance is hard because there are not many spaces where it feels mutually beneficial. So, yes.
So you gotta find those people that are willing to be like, okay, we know we can't do this, and okay, all right, well, we want to do this, but it doesn't look right if we do this. We got to bring in the right people, and that's another thing Bearded Eyes even here at Jackalope does. Like, there's a woman I work with. She brews, and she wanted to do like a woman's only type of beer, and she's like, I'm gonna brew it, or she's in the LGBT community, so they did put on a pride event. She ran it because she's in that community, and it just wanted to make sense. I talked to her about potentially doing a Juneteenth beer next year, and I was like, I want to brew it. She's like, yeah, like,
of course.
I
was like, of course.
Like, I'm not gonna brew it.
Yeah.
Brennan ain't gonna brew it. Like, it was like, yeah, you're gonna brew it, 'cause, like, it just makes no sense. And finding like people like that are like so in that community that are so crisp about trying to do as right as possible, and realizing they're gonna fuck up because they're humans, but they're fucking up within trying, which is commendable.
I was like, maybe we're transitioning, because I was gonna say I've found, surprisingly, right, as bold as the statements are, I have white people reach out to me all the time on Instagram like, hey, I really want to support this message. Is it appropriate for me to buy a shirt, buy merchandise? Is this something that, was your intended message? And I'm like, to me, absolutely, because you're going to be coming in contact with people that I never would. Exactly. And to be able to start having conversations with those people, I think it's part of what I want to do, transcend some of those lines of difference with people who understand the intended goals and messages behind the phrases, like, which is not, again, an anti-message. It's a, like, I'm proud of who I am, and I have every right to be proud of who I am.
Right.
Because historically,
we've been told not to.
Right, I've been told not to, and I don't know why, because I come from some of the strongest people that exist.
Yes.
So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
most definitely. But yeah, I want to get into this third beer here. It's called Sarka, and it's just like a crisp Pilsner. It's basically if one of those commercialized beers that are all on commercials all the time, if they actually made an effort to make good beer, this is what this will taste like. I'm not going to say the name of that mass-produced beer because I don't want them jumping on me for slander. But you can figure it out, people of the world. It's called Sarka. So it's like a little, like, nice, slightly hoppy Pilsner. Crisp. You can get a little bit like a tortilla, kind of like breadiness to it. That's usually like Pilsners. Pilsners kind of hit right on the head of like lightly toasted bread, lightly toasted tortilla, excuse me. So this is probably one of my favorite local beers. It definitely was when I was working here. I would
this is local?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this one's really good, but yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm surprised by that.
Definitely easy to drink. And kind of just wanted to keep going about like going to Black excellence and what does that mean, and how is Taylor Kirk and Tayloredforus speaking to that definition of Black excellence?
Absolutely. I think personally, my definition of Black excellence is like Black people being able to occupy spaces in whatever way they want to occupy spaces. I think so often we're kind of taught like we have to be exemplary, and if we're not exemplary, we don't really deserve to be in conversation or take up space. Or
right.
I feel like that's like kind of to your point earlier, really triggering to our mental health. Like, if I can't achieve at a very high level, does that mean I'm worth less? And I think sometimes that message can come across. So that is what I would deem Black excellence, just us being able to show up and show out in whatever forms we want to take up. And I think the messages on Tayloredforus really kind of allowed that to be true. I think a lot of like of our men's phrases specifically like kind of speak to the duality of who Black men are able to be. And I think that is part of the excellence conversation, and that we can not just be reserved and have no emotions and experience success, and that makes us ideal. Like, no, we can be all of these facets of our identities, and that is okay. That is actually more than okay, because we're showing others it's okay to show up like that. So I really think that the phrases kind of allow for people to see that we're more than one thing. Being Black is not a monolith. Our experiences range, I mean, across regional dimensions, across cultural dimensions, across financial dimensions. And it's just the hope that phrases showcase that that's okay.
Right.
And because it's okay, be proud of it. Don't kind of be shameful of anything that is part of who you are.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, so I think, I don't know, Black excellence, I have a lot of feels about the phrase. Because I don't think we have to be exemplary to be excellent. Like,
no,
we are resilient for just waking up each day and living. And I think just highlighting that is also a hope. I have so many hopes, but
don't we all? Hopes, dreams, cares.
It's one of the things that I hope comes across in the messages. Just being who we are is enough.
Gotcha. And you said something interesting about being confident and being proud of that. Like, how do you motivate someone that's kind of going through that like storm of like, because I went through that storm myself, so I have my own opinions about achieving your version of Black excellence. But for you, how was that journey for you, and what pieces of advice from your journey can you bestow on people that are currently going through like this storms of identity crisis, self-esteem issues? Like, how do you tell someone that feels that's in that darkness right now?
Absolutely.
Like, what can they focus on?
Whew. That's a lot.
Take your time.
Because I'm like, I still feel, like I very much still feel in those stages. A lot of times, I think that's like the byproduct of living in America, that you kind of constantly feel inadequate. And I think that's like almost like was medicine for me, in that it allowed me sometimes to be more confident than I was. So like putting it on made me feel like even if I don't right now feel this, I have to embody it if I'm going to choose to wear this shirt.
Right.
And I think in a lot of ways, Taylor for Us was medicine for me, and allowed me to realize that I didn't have to have this facade to exist in professional spaces, to exist in any space at all. So I think like finding something that allows you to feel free is the best advice that I could give, because at the end of the day, this is all we get, and it's for us. Like,
it's for us, by us.
Literally. So really being able to lean into the idea that even if this is not culturally acceptable, even if this is not what the popular thing is, like leaning into what makes you feel whole, leaning into what makes you feel free, and standing on that. Because I think so often we're shaken by people's thoughts and opinions, and they got these thoughts and opinions because they too want to be able to, I think, confidently stand in something that they're not able to. So I think leaning into that is where I found, I would say, a level of peace. This is what I believe to be true, and that doesn't mean everybody will believe it to be true, and that's okay. But this is what I get, so I'm gonna stand on it, and that's what's been helpful.
I got you. And then just like I love the fact that you used choose or chosen or picked. It's just like, it's kind of like when people tell you to choose joy. It's almost the same thing. It's like you gotta choose pride every day. Like sometimes it just doesn't come to you. It's like, I don't want eyes on me today because blah blah blah. But you gotta be like, oh no, I gotta do this thing. And speaking of choosing, I'm going to choose to drink this last beer called Bear Walker. It's a brown ale with a little bit of maple syrup in there. This is the first Nashville craft beer I had ever been in the city. I've been here 12 years. That was probably 9 years ago now. Yeah, so 9 years ago, this is the first beer, and it still like holds a special place in my heart. It started to open me up to the Nashville craft beer. This has a very
smooth after.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I definitely blame that on the maple syrup. The maple syrup kind of calms down that little bitterness you get around the front end, and that maple syrup kind of just cresses your taste buds down to the end of the sip. And so, but yeah, like you were saying, choosing like pride and things like that. Especially just like choosing that. You also got to choose your community. So like, how has Gratitude for Black Girls kind of help with that? Because I know you're a collaborative partner with them, and how does that help with you choosing your community and creating the space of what we've talked about earlier? Like, what have they done to kind of bolster that or put you in a new mindset you didn't know you needed to be in?
Absolutely. I really, really love Gratitude for Black Girls.
Got to speak on to what that is as well.
Yes. Tatiara is the founder of Gratitude.
Shout out Tatiera.
Shout out Tatiera for Gratitude for Black Girls, which is essentially an organization that is really wanting to show the beauty, the brilliance, the gratitude for all that is Black girls and Black women, really hoping to like instill that confidence in Black girls so they grow up to become confident Black women, not having to kind of go through that repair phase that I feel like a lot of us go through from childhood to adulthood.
Speak on that, because I'm not
Yeah.
familiar with that. With like for Black women, it's like that. I never even heard that. Not to.
Yeah.
That was just so interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, I gotta ask. I was
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
What does that like repair stage look like?
Absolutely. It looks like, well, I can only speak for me. I think it was like a lot of reflection, a lot of unlearning, a lot of leaning into the unconventional standards. I think just like for me, really like just changing my mind frame around what it means to be a Black girl and knowing that that's different than being any other kind of girl.
Right.
And ultimately would make me different in my journey to become a woman. Like, I think there are things that I was taught as a child that, I mean, like, by television, by culture, by all the things that shape us that are not our homes, that made me think less of myself and who I was. And then going into adulthood thinking that, again, this kind of concept of like being less valuable or not being as worthy or not being aligned with what the standard of beauty is and to who and who even sets that. So like I think the unlearning part around like, again, who I am is enough and the way that I take up space is beautiful in its own way. So yeah, and I think Gratitude for Black Girls, you know, it connects totally to
Full
that.
circle moment
Yeah,
right there.
and that allowing kind of that transition to be a lot easier than it has been for, you know, some people. But they do really amazing work. They have a yearly kind of conference where they have a lot of different speakers and events and a vendor fair that really promote the again, the excellence, using quotes here because, you know,
Yeah, I got you.
of Black women and who Black women can be and become. And I just think like being in community with them and being in partnership with them and being able to, you know, work on merch just for them was like an amazing experience because, again, I think it goes into like what Taylor for Us is all about, and that confidence in who we are should not be it shouldn't be a crime. It shouldn't be offensive. It shouldn't be
Or fit in certain
yeah, like it
certain
should be
streams
okay.
and- yeah.
It should be okay for us to take up space, and that should not be threatening to others. And I think like that partnership, it was like, for me, it was like almost like, look, we're building this coalition of people that believe the same thing. Other women that believe, and not just other women, other people that believe we're allowed to take up this space and show up. And that doesn't always have to be in a perfect little package. It could be in whatever way we want it to be, and that is totally fine. So that was an amazing experience, and I loved being even considered to be a part of something like that. It just, again, being an entrepreneur has been a humbling experience, and just the thought that people think of you or consider you or choose to purchase your merch is just like, it's an overwhelming thought, and it continues to remind me of my why.
Okay, yeah, no, I love that you found your why and you're pursuing that, and
just the last couple of things before we wrap up today. We already kind of talk about Black excellence and what that means to you. And taking that definition, have you seen that in Nashville, or is that something that needs to be worked on? 'Cause I ask everybody that question on this episode, on an episode. It's just like, what is Black excellence, and is that your definition exuded in Nashville?
Absolutely. I think 100%. And it's like interesting coming off the cusp of like a Nashville Black Market weekend.
Yeah, I
where
wish
like
I could have gone.
I think like when I think of Black excellence, like that's what I think of. Everyone was there showing up as themselves, and it was no shame, it was no fear. It was like we were all in community together, regardless of what our professions are, regardless of, where we come from, if we're not from Nashville. Like, it felt like true community, and I think that is exuded in my definition of Black excellence. And, the vendors that are there, the food trucks that are there, it doesn't feel like in those spaces we're in competition. It feels like we can all get some. It's a more than enough of an audience for us all to eat here. And I think that 100% is my definition of Black excellence. And I think it's exuded in events like that. I even think about Corner to Corner. And I just think the way in which they pour into young entrepreneurs, specifically young entrepreneurs of color, and just how powerful, again, that is, because so often we don't have access to that knowledge or that information, and definitely not at the price that they giving it to us, at.
Right.
So I think, again, just allowing us to say, like, this is what we want to be, and they're giving us the tools to show up in that way. I think it's amazing, and I'm so thankful to be, part of those communities, even if it's just like during an event, even if it's not like beyond that event. I think those are like beautiful moments that, again, remind me that community is so important, and we deserve to show up in the ways that we want to show up, because it's something so freeing about us all swag surfing together, right?
Right.
It's something so liberating about us being able to connect over these, food trucks and music being played and so on and so forth, that we don't get to have all the time in our professional lives.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Very much so. Depending on what industry you're in.
Yes.
It's really particular. But like, before we wrap up today, I always end on cheers. I end cheersing to the person I'm speaking to, just let her know I see you. And that's what I want to do for you. Is like, cheers to you, Taylor, for putting our thoughts and our feelings on a shirt and getting it out there. It's more than just a statement. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle we have to choose and actively work in. And you're creating that foundation with the shirts, because your shirts aren't just a statement. You are breathing life into these with the way you move through these shirts, the way you move in the city, move in the communities in which you're in. You give life to these shirts beyond just $30. It's $30, but you also build a person's confidence. You give them the space, the energy to enter a space and take hold of that space and find your own within that space confidently, securely, and with minimal issues, being able to speak to that. And that's already hard to do. So the fact that you're coming here trying to create that community and create that pride for people is huge. And I want to make sure someone tells you that. So if no one ever tells you that, the better brother told you. And so people are seeing you and not even appreciate you, just seeing you through and through, from the shirts to you to whoever supports you. We see each other when I see that person wearing that Tayloredforus shirt, I'm like, we went to the same thing.
Absolutely.
I feel that shirt, so we're all one and the same.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to make sure I give you that appreciation, give you your flowers, give you your cheers.
Thank you.
But for anyone that you might have inspired or any new supporter you might have just gotten after this episode, how can they follow you, keep up with you, and your shenanigans and all that stuff?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Instagram at Tayloredforus.
I love that.
Literally
It's his name, by the way.
exactly as it's spelled tailored like my name, not tailored like alterations. So TAYLOREDFORUS. And if you want to make a purchase, if you are wanting to confidently stand in all of your blackness,
I know you want to, people. Go on, do it.
you want to be a support within the community and begin having conversations by wearing one of these very bold phrases, you can check out the website, which is www.tayloredforus.com.
Perfect. And you know how to keep up with me. The Bearded Brother on all social medias. Check out thebeardedbrother.com to buy merch. Book me for an event. I do beer tastings. I do beer curations for events. I do ads for your business and things like that. So, just definitely shoot me a message. Definitely we can get something worked out, and you can follow me there and everywhere. And of course, you know what to do with this episode. You grab your friends. You grab good ass beer, and of course, drink up.
Yeah.